What's up, guys? Welcome to Touchdown Talk, where everything and anything football goes. I'm your host, Jason, and I'm back after a little break over the weekend. I'm on a new schedule. If you didn't see my past video, I will be uploading every Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday for the remainder of the NFL season and going forward. Now, starting off with this video, let's kick it off with our Monday night game, I should say, as I just finished watching it. Right now, it is currently 11:50 Eastern as the game just wrapped up. The Niners beat the Los Angeles Rams 24-9 in a game that wasn't very offensive. There wasn't a lot going on. Jimmy Garoppolo didn't play very well. Matthew Stafford didn't play very well. All in all, great defensive showing by both teams. In this game, we had Matthew Stafford throw a pick six late in the game, which made the score 24-9. At the time, it was 17-9. The Rams were driving. They kind of threw a little screen to Cooper Kupp. And Tafango, I don't know if I pronounced that correct, but the safety for the 49ers, kind of having a breakout year slowly and quietly. But he's been having a breakout year, got the pick six, really just jumped the route. He kind of read the play as the receiver came up to block. Cooper Kupp dropped back, and he read it, returned it for a six, making the score 24-9. Stafford, as I just said, threw a pick six, not playing very well. Cooper Kupp, another 100-yard game against the 49ers. Didn't get into the end zone, however. And then on the other side for the Niners, Garoppolo didn't play well at all. Kind of a lot of handing the ball off, pitching the ball. He had a few short routes. George Kittle not involved in the game at all. There was a touchdown grab where his foot was out of bounds, only got 1 foot in. But other than that, Kittle was quiet in this game. They really did a good job of kind of eliminating him from the game. And as for Deebo Samuel, Garoppolo threw about a 4 or 5 yard pass, and then Deebo Samuel took another 53 yards. So when you look at the stat sheet and you look at Garoppolo, don't just automatically assume that Garoppolo did as well as the stats may look, because he didn't. There was a lot of yak, as they call themselves, the yak bros, with Ayuk, Deebo, and Kittle. So that just goes to show you that that's what the 49ers do on their team. They got the win, divisional game. Everybody in that NFC West is tied at 2-2. These division standings will be updated by the next video. I will rearrange the helmets in order of who's in first all the way to last place in each division. So these are just from, I think, week 2. I haven't updated them. A little bit of a hiatus, but I'm back now. 3 videos a week, maybe 4. I might be doing some power ranking videos here and there, but Niners looked decent on the offense. Defense really showed out, especially Nick Bosa on that defense and Fred Warner. Now, let's rewind all the way back to Sunday morning, our London game between the Minnesota Vikings and the New Orleans Saints. Now, the winner of this Vikings-Saint game was none other than Cody Parkey. Now, you may be thinking, why is Cody Parkey the winner of this game? Now, I'll get to that in a few minutes, but let's talk about the game itself first. Now, Minnesota and the Vikings were off to a pretty slow start. Same for the Saints. The Saints didn't have Winston in this game. It was Andy Dalton. They didn't have Alvin Kamara. They didn't have Michael Thomas. It was Jarvis Landry and Chris Olave who really showed out. Chris Olave, breakout game. He played phenomenally. Probably the best player on the field in the entire game. Now, for the Vikings offense, it was the Adam Thielen show at the beginning of the game. Marshawn Lattimore and the Saints defense were doing a pretty good job of slowing Justin Jefferson down. Dalvin Cook wasn't able to get anything going early. Cam Jordan was playing great on the D-line. So a lot of good news for the Saints at the beginning of the game, even with all their injuries. They kept it close with the Vikings, which was a shocker, because when you think about the Saints and you don't have Winston, no Kamara, no Thomas, you really think, all right, well, the Vikings, Justin Jefferson, they're going to blow the Saints out. What are we even saying? But no, that's not what happened. The Saints stayed in it. They stayed competitive, and it came down to the last play of the game. Now, with the Vikings, as I mentioned, they didn't get anything going early, but then Justin Jefferson had a nice bomb on Marshawn Lattimore, kind of stomped over him. They were going at it all game. They was pushing and shoving. Obviously, when you have Justin Jefferson, who's one of the best receivers in the league, against Marshawn Lattimore, who's one of the best defensive players in the league, one of the best corners in the league at his position, respectively, I think that when you look at these players and they're drawing back and forth, it's going to be competitive. Now Jefferson got the better of him on that play, which set up a Vikings deep drive, which helped them win the game. And as I mentioned on the last play of the game, the Vikings kicked a field goal with 25 seconds left. Now when the Vikings went up 28-25 with 25 seconds left, you think, okay, well, the game's going to be over. No, the Saints ended up getting down to the field on a Chris Olave catch in midfield and out-trotted Will Lutz, who hit a 60-yarder earlier in the game. This kick from 61 yards. And when I say Cody Parkey's the winner of this game, it's because Will Lutz, doink, the kick went up, went to the left, hit the upright, then hit the crossbar and went out. Came forward back into the end zone. So a miss for the Saints, a loss for the Saints, and a win for not only the Minnesota Vikings, but Cody Parkey. He can now breathe easily now that there's been another doink, especially after Cody Parkey in the playoffs. We all know that. It's been a meme for however long. I believe it's 4 or 5 years now we've been running on that meme. So now Cody Parkey gets to slowly relax a little bit now that another doink has happened. Obviously not great stakes, especially since that one was in the playoffs, but at least he's not the only one. Now, moving on to our next game, which is the Browns and the Falcons. In this game, it was kind of the Nick Chubb show. Nick Chubb over 100 yards, got the touchdown on a 28-yard touchdown run. The Falcons didn't play well. They didn't at all. Marcus Mariota didn't play well at all. But they were able to somehow get the victory. Now, this surprised me because Cleveland, however, played well. And when you look at how Cleveland played, they didn't play poorly at all. It was just lack of communication, lack of everyone coming together. The Falcons were able to win 23-20. It was a mishmash game, back and forth, kind of very slow going. But in the end, Nick Chubb was the leader for the Browns once again. As I mentioned, best running back in the league. Not even close right now, especially with Derrick Henry slowing in week 1 and 2. Jonathan Taylor being injured right now. Najee Harris being injured. Dalvin Cook injured now. A lot of these top guys are injured, so Nick Chubb really running away with the best running back, even though McCaffrey is slowly coming along. Now, next we had our Washington Commanders and the Dallas Cowboys. Now in this game, once again, another slow starting game, a big defensive game. This week was kind of a week for defenses early on, and the Cowboys and Commanders were yet another one. Now, this game was interesting because it is a defensive game. The Cowboys have been able to beat Washington relatively in the past couple of years, but the big thing was Dallas home game, still no Dak Prescott. Cooper Rush looking to go 4-0, and he did that. Cooper Rush got the job done. He played well. And Washington just didn't. Carson Wentz didn't play well. The offensive line is one of the worst in the NFL. Probably second worst to the Cincinnati Bengals. They are right up there with the Bengals, getting Carson Wentz sacked just as much as Joe Burrow. And it's just really disappointing for the Commanders in a year where people thought maybe with the addition of Curtis Samuel coming back from injury, Jahan Dotson in the draft, he's out for I think 2 weeks now with an injury to his hamstring, so he'll miss weeks 5 and 6. I would assume maybe come back week 6, but it does look like he'll be out both weeks 5 and 6. And as I mentioned, for their offense, people thought they were going to be good. Their defense is struggling a bit. They're allowing points. Chase Young still isn't on the field, coming back from his ACL injury. He looks to return within the coming weeks, hopefully for the Commanders. But as I mentioned with Dallas, Cooper Rush got the job done. The Cowboys got the win over the Commanders. They're sitting in second in the division right now, tied with the Giants, solely behind the Eagles, who remain the only undefeated team in the NFL. And as I mentioned with Cooper Rush, the Dallas Cowboys have a decision to make here. And now when I say this, you might think I'm crazy. You might think this is a ludicrous statement, but Dak Prescott could be coming back from injury. Now, Dak Prescott is slated to return this week or next week. This was his timetable. He's progressing a lot sooner. He wants to play this week, but I don't think you play him. Right now, Cooper Rush is 4-0, and I think that you have to go with the hot hand. And this is something where these injuries happen, especially to the quarterback position, you always think, okay, do you ride the hot hand or do you go to your starter? Now, in a case for the Dallas Cowboys, I think you have to ride the hot hand here. I think it's undoubtedly the option for the Dallas Cowboys. Week 1, you lose to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And when you look at their Week 5 matchup against the Rams, and I'll talk about this more late in the week when I do my preview video, my prediction video, all in one, they play the Los Angeles Rams. And the Rams have one of the best defenses. They have Aaron Donald there. They have Bobby Wagner. So do you really want to rush Dak Prescott back and play him against this defense? I don't think so. I think you wait an extra week, let him get even healthier, let him get back to as close to 100% as he can. Let Cooper Rush face this Rams defense. Cooper Rush, if he gets the job done like he's been doing, the Rams have struggled. They lost to the 49ers, as I mentioned. Matthew Stafford pick 6, only 9 points. So first time that happened since 2007. So a lot of problems in LA right now. And for the Cowboys, hot hand, 4 wins for Cooper Rush. So as a starter, Cooper Rush is 4-0. He's won 3 this year so far. And I think that you ride with him. You let Cooper Rush play this game. If he loses to the Rams, he lets your team down. That's fine. You bench him. Dak Prescott comes back in Week 6 in a big divisional game against the Eagles on Sunday night. So that's the option you have there. I think you let Dak rest one more week, especially against the Rams defense, and bring him back next week against the Philadelphia Eagles in Week 6 for a big divisional game. That defense is playing extremely well right now behind Jonathan Gannon. But for now, I think the Cowboys, I think the play is Cooper Rush for one more week at least. Next up, we had the battle for the worst 3-1 team between the Chicago Bears and the New York Giants, both coming into this game at 2-1. The winner is going to be the worst 3-1 team, and the winner was the New York Giants. Now, something interesting in this game was early on, the Giants don't have a number 1 corner. They have Adoree Jackson, but besides him, you don't have that guy next to him. And for the Bears, they realized that, and they started throwing the ball early. They were hitting Darnell Mooney for the first time in a while. Darnell Mooney hasn't been playing up to his potential at all this season. And when you look at the Giants, they played okay, I guess. They didn't play extremely well. They didn't have a huge showing. But the key thing in this game was the health for the New York Giants. Daniel Jones left with an injury. He is day-to-day going forward. Tyrod Taylor then left with an injury, bringing Saquon Barkley as the QB1. Now Barkley was running wildcat, he was handing the ball off, and then Daniel Jones was able to return. Especially late in the game, you don't want Barkley having to throw the ball to win the game for you. But Daniel Jones was able to return to the game. He had 2 rushing touchdowns, helped the Giants to the victory. They won 20-12, as I mentioned, low scoring. Not a lot of offense, but the Giants were able to get it done to move to 3-1, tied for second in the division with the Dallas Cowboys. Next, let's talk about probably the best game of the week. Not the highest scoring, but the best game. The Buffalo Bills and the Baltimore Ravens. Now for the Buffalo Bills, Josh Allen, Stefan Diggs, their connection is one of the best in the league. This game was going back and forth all game long after half. Now, when you look at the game, Baltimore got off to a pretty quick start. They were up 10-0 on the Buffalo Bills. The Bills were able to get a field goal and then a touchdown before half, making it 20-10. What showed out the most was Marlon Humphrey on the first Bills drive. I believe it was the second or third play of the game. Josh Allen threw a pick. Marlon Humphrey was able to return it for 26 yards, giving the Baltimore Ravens an easy score, basically handing them points. Following that, Devin Singletary fumbled. But as I mentioned, the Bills were able to go up and get 10 points before half. They scored a touchdown with 9 seconds on a 4th down to Isaiah McKenzie, who got hurt later on in the game. And then coming out of half, the Bills kind of just took over. Now, the Ravens were up 20-3 at one point in this game, and then the Bills just unloaded. The Bills came back from a 20-3 deficit, tied the game up 20-20, And when you look at the last drive for the Baltimore Ravens, which is what I want to focus on here, is you go down and you're in the red zone. And let me know what you guys think about this, but 4th and 3 at the goal line, 4th and goal, you have Lamar Jackson. You're tied 20-20 with a little over a minute left in the game. What do you do? And you know what the Ravens did? They went for it. John Harbaugh went for it on 4th and goal. And Lamar dropped back, got pressure, threw the ball up in the corner of the end zone, and it was picked off. Worst case scenario for the Ravens happened. You're right up there at the goal line. You're thinking, John Harbaugh is probably saying, if we get the ball, we score, we're up 7. Josh Allen and the offense has been unbelievable the second half. If they stop us here, then the Bills get the ball right at their own yard line. We could get a safety here. We can hold them. They're backed up in their own end zone. It's going to be hard for them. But no. Lamar Jackson, instead of throwing the ball out of the end zone, he kind of threw one up for Devin Duvernay and intercepted. Jordan Poyer's second interception of the game took a shot. Was a little shaken up after that shot, but interception. Bills get the ball at the 20, drive down the field. Devin Singletary slides at, I believe it was the 2-yard line. The Buffalo Bills drained out the rest of the clock and kicked the game-winning field goal. They didn't want to give the ball back to the Ravens at all. Ran the ball down, slid, perfect execution, kicked the game-winning field goal. And Stefan Diggs was telling a fan to go the home. Now, what I mean by this, and I'll show the video for you guys, but just watch this video. Now, there's no sound on this video, but I'm playing it for you guys so you could see it. You could read, if you can read Stefan Diggs' lips, you can see what he's saying. And the fans obviously talking to him. He's chirping at Diggs. Diggs can hear him. Diggs turns around and says, go the home. And he says it 3 times, walks to the field, does a little motion as he's walking away. And this is what I love from the Buffalo Bills. I love to see the enthusiasm, the love that the Bills have for not only their team but their fans. And obviously Stefan Diggs didn't like what the fan was saying. I'm going to assume it was a Raven fan. He's telling him to go home. Not in a nice way, but I love to see it from the Bills, especially their players. They're passionate. They love each other. They love their team. They love their fans. We saw it with their offensive coordinator a couple of weeks ago when the Bills lost. He was slamming his stuff in the room. The video went viral. I'll play that for you guys. You could hear it. You could see it while I'm talking right now. But as you could see, that he wasn't happy. This wasn't something he wanted to happen. The Bills didn't go their way. They lose. And then a week later, they get the win over the Ravens, and Stefan Diggs does this. So I love what I'm getting from the Bills this year. I predicted the Bills to go to the Super Bowl early on in the year. They're looking pretty good right now. The Miami game, they always play hard against the Bills. Miami earned the win that game. But I still think the Bills are a front runner this season. Now, next, let's talk about the undefeated team in the league, the last remaining one, and that is the Eagles against the Jaguars. Now, in this game, it was the Dougie P return game. Doug Peterson returned to Philly. He's known for bringing them a Super Bowl. Andy Reid couldn't do it. Doug Peterson did. Doug Peterson brought a Super Bowl to Philly with Nick Foles. He has a statue outside of Lincoln Financial Field in Philly. And I love that Philly fans gave him a standing ovation. Eagle fans are known to be one of the worst fans in the league. They have a bad rep. And I'm so glad that they gave him a standing ovation. I was hoping they did. I didn't want to see them booing him or it being silent. I was hoping that they gave him a standing ovation because he deserves it. He brought your only Super Bowl home. He did it with a backup quarterback in Nick Foles. And he deserves 100% a standing ovation. Now, early in the game, the fans were probably booing him after the Jags went up 14-0. But after that, lights out for Jacksonville. The Eagles came back. The Jaguars had over 4 drop passes. The Eagles caused 4 turnovers. And it was great. The Eagles came back and they played great. Down 14-0, they showed their resilience. And Hassan Reddick had 2 strip sacks. He recovered both fumbles. He had the 2 sacks, forced fumbles on both, and recovered his own fumbles. Hassan Reddick showed out in this game. The Eagles came back from a 14-0 deficit to win the game 29-21, which is extremely good for your offense. They finally were able to figure out how to finish fast. The one thing with the Eagles, as I mentioned, is they either start fast and slow down, or they start slow and progressively get faster. And when you're playing the Dolphins, the Bills, the Packers, the Chargers, the Bucks, the Rams, the Niners, these teams that are constant throughout the game, it's going to be hard for the Eagles to stay consistent. Now, when you look at their schedule, it's very favorable. They're going into Arizona, then they're home against Dallas, and then they're in their bye. So they have a pretty good chance of being 6-0 going into their bye. And that's what I'm predicting for the Eagles. I think they can go 6-0. I don't see Arizona beating them. Not with DeAndre Hopkins out. But with Slay and Maddox injured for the Eagles, I think it is going to be a little tougher if they don't go. But when I do my video, I'm hoping that there's an injury update to give you guys. But in this game, as I mentioned, Eagles were able to get the victory, coming back from 14-0, showing their resilience. Jalen Hurts is a leader for this team. He didn't play that great in this game. I want him to show more of his passing ability. I think he can, but Jalen Hurts got the job done in the end. The defense showed out and got the win for the team. Great all-around team win for the Eagles after starting down 14-0. Now next is the Chargers and the Texans. Now when we look at the Chargers and the Texans, this game was kind of back and forth, but the one thing that showed out was Austin Eckler. 3 touchdowns for the Chargers, 2 receiving and a rushing touchdown for Eckler. He was the star of this game. The Chargers could not lose this game, especially after a slow start. You got the Chiefs firing in that division. They're going to need to do something if they want a chance at that division. I think they did it in this game. I think they turn around. Herbert getting healthier. Keenan Allen should be returning soon. So I think the Chargers getting healthy is going to be a big part of their bounce back season. Chargers got the victory 34-24. But on the Texans side, Dameon Pierce had a 75-yard touchdown run. You'll love to see it if you're a Texan fan. If you're a fantasy owner of Dameon Pierce, I have him in one league, so I was excited about it. But if you're a Texan fan, that's your running back right there. That's your future running back. So you got to be pumped to see Dameon Pierce blow that run, 75 yards for a touchdown. If you're a Texan fan, you are excited about Dameon Pierce. You're excited about what this team could be. Right now, I would say you guys are a couple of years away. But I think they're starting to get the foundation. I think Davis Mills has a chance to be the guy there. I think Dameon Pierce is a guy. They got Brandon Cooks. Get a little help on the defense. I think the Texans would be able to be a team in the league in a couple of years. Now next up is the Seahawks and Lions game. And this was the highest scoring game of week 4. 48-45, Seattle over Detroit. Now this game was insane to watch. I caught a couple of glimpses of this game, but I did watch the game back afterwards. Monday morning, I watched the game back, and I was pretty content with watching the game. I liked what I saw from both teams. 2 teams that aren't favored this season, who aren't looked at as playoff teams. They both played extremely well on offense, and Geno Smith and Jared Goff played phenomenally. For the Seahawks, scored on their opening drive. Geno was able to run the ball. He was getting going. But then on the second drive, it didn't even happen because Tyler Lockett fumbled, and that's when the Lions were able to start. But when you look at the Lions team in this game, no DeAndre Swift, no Amon-Ra St. Brown, no DJ Chark. Josh Reynolds was banged up going into the game, but he played, and he played a huge role. Now, going into this game, I said Josh Reynolds was going to have a huge game, and that's just because of his connection with Jared Goff. Now, him and Jared Goff played together in Los Angeles, so they have a connection right away. So, when I saw that he was playing, I thought they were going to connect extremely well, which they did. But when you look at the game on the Lions side of the ball, their offense was a little shaky. They had 3 of their best players on offense out, and that's a problem when you look at the team. But Jared Goff, right at the halftime, they were able to go down. They scored on a 4th and goal before the half, same as the Bills did. And it wasn't good for them after that. Seattle went up early. They went up 31-15 after half. Jared Goff on the first play of the third quarter, first play after the kickoff, pick 6. Seattle went up 31-15. That's not what the Lions wanted. But after this game, the Lions started coming back, and it was back and forth from there. Jared Goff and the Lions converted on 2 two-point conversions after their kicker missed 2 PATs. And remember that for later when I talk about the end of this game. That's going to come into play. But for Seattle, moving on to their offense, DK Metcalf finally showed up. He finally had a game where he had the catches, the yards. And DK Metcalf, he's had a slow season so far. And people were wondering, where's DK Metcalf? What are you doing right now? Like, he's your guy. He's your young stud. He's the leader of this offense now. Is he going to get the ball? And they answered that question. They got him the ball early. They got him the ball constantly. And aside from DK, Tyler Lockett played well. And Rashad Penny had a long touchdown. So all around, good showing for the Seattle offense. But as I mentioned, for the Lions, that 2 points that they missed on the kicks came into play. Now, even with TJ Hawkinson going off in this game, having the touchdowns, over 130 yards, he had the receptions. They're a leader on this offense in this game. But at the end of the game, they could have went for 2 to tie the game if the kicker made his kicks, but they didn't. They had to settle, and that ultimately cost them. Seattle was able to get the victory over the Lions 48-45 in the highest scoring game of Week 5. The next game we have is a divisional game between the Tennessee Titans and the Indianapolis Colts. Now, the Titans were able to get the better of the Colts in this game. And with the Indianapolis Colts, they're not looking too good right now. It's a bit nerve-wracking if you're a Colts fan to see the Colts. I know when I watch the Colts, it's kind of annoying because I thought they were going to be good this year. Now, when I see the Colts and I see them losing, it's weird to see because last year they were so good with Jonathan Taylor. Their offensive line was good with the run. They were able to get the ball going. They had Michael Pittman playing good. And when you look at the team this year, it's a whole different team. Now, I thought, okay, they have Matt Ryan now. And I think when you get a quarterback like Matt Ryan, who's an upgrade from Carson Wentz, I think you're going to be a better football team. But the Colts just haven't been that. The Colts haven't been a better football team. They're 1-2-1 because they tied the Texans. And it's not how you want to start a year. If you remember from my prediction video, I had them winning the division. I had the Colts winning the South, and it looks like Jacksonville might do that. But the way Jacksonville just lost to the Eagles, they played well, but going up 14 and then losing, that's a problem. But the Colts need to figure it out. The Titans are now above the Colts because they get the victory. And another big thing is Jonathan Taylor's health now. Jonathan Taylor's injured. He's questionable for Thursday. And Shaquille Leonard is also out for Thursday. So when you look at these two guys who are your 2 best guys, Shaquille Leonard is out. He has a concussion. He won't play Thursday. And it's a quick turnaround against a Bronco team who's also coming off a loss. And I think the Colts, if you want to do anything this season, it has to be this week. I think Jonathan Taylor needs to play. And I think you have to turn your season around because what I saw in this game from moments that I watched it, as I said, I was watching the other games. I was watching Red Zone, but I caught glimpses of the Colt-Titan game. And Derrick Henry just ran wild on this team. Derrick Henry was phenomenal, over 100 yards, got the touchdown. Phenomenal game from Derrick Henry. Weeks 1 and 2, I was a little nervous watching Derrick Henry. I thought the King was going to return. He's back, but I think maybe his health wasn't at 100%. Boom. Week 3, dog. We're back to King Henry, weeks 3 and 4, gets the touchdown, gets the yardage, runs wild on the defense. And I think Derrick Henry's back. The Titans have a chance, but under Ryan Tannehill, I don't like their chance in the division, but they were able to get one over the Colts. The Colts need to get healthy before they're going to be able to do anything. We'll see what happens with them. Titans looked good in this game. We'll see what happens the rest of that season. Jacksonville, that division's still up in the air. Maybe even Houston wins that division. I don't know, but I'm looking forward to seeing how that division plays out later in the year. Now, next up, speaking of those Denver Broncos, was the Denver Bronco and Las Vegas Raiders game. Now, the Bronco-Raider game was interesting because it's a divisional game, but the Raiders came into this game 0-3. You brought in Devontae Adams, you brought in Chandler Jones, and you're 0-3. It's not a good look for your team, and they needed to make a statement, and they did that. They beat the Broncos, they won this division game, and that's exactly what they needed to do. When you're watching this game, I watched glimpses of it, as I said. I was watching the Packer game mostly, but when you look at the Raider-Bronco game and the glimpses that I saw, the Raiders just looked sloppy at first, but then Josh Jacobs started going. And when Josh Jacobs started running, he was blowing through the Broncos defense. He was carrying defenders with him. And I was never high on Josh Jacobs. I was never a huge backer of Josh Jacobs. But when I talk about Josh Jacobs, I always thought he was a bit overrated in a sense, just because I never saw a lot out of him. But if he could do what he did yesterday, Sunday, as I said, but if he could do what he did Sunday, each and every week, the Raiders could have something special. Now, they have to figure out how to get Devontae the ball. Because when Devontae was in Green Bay, he was getting the ball. Whether there was one defender on him, two defenders on him, an extra safety on him, no matter what, Aaron Rodgers got him the ball. Derek Carr's not that. Derek Carr can't be that. Derek Carr needs to stick to his focus. You have been given the ball to Mac Hollins. I don't know where he came from. He was with the Eagles, with the Dolphins, and now he's a star on the Raiders. I don't know what it is. But they need to figure something out on that offense for Devontae, because Devontae's going to get a little annoyed in these next coming weeks. If he's not getting the ball, he's not putting up the yards. Week 2, he had 2 receptions for 12 yards. Now, granted, he had a touchdown, but 2 receptions for what was known as the best receiver in the league? What are you doing? Like, you can't do that. That's not how your team needs to work. But the Broncos, devastating news. Javonte Williams tore his ACL and his LCL. He's out for the year. And I loved Javonte Williams. Javonte Williams, I was huge on this year. I thought he was going to have a breakout year. I thought he was going to be one of the best running backs in the league this year. That wasn't the case. Injuries got him, and he's out for the year. Sad news for the Broncos. I think with that, their season is going to be over. Now, yes, you could say that's a bit of an overreaction, but you're losing to the 0-3 Raiders, regardless they're in your division. You're losing probably your best offensive player in Javonte Williams. Russell Wilson hasn't been playing good at all. Melvin Gordon fumbled again, which led to a Raider touchdown. Melvin Gordon has 4 fumbles on the year. He's averaging a fumble in a game. And if your running back's guaranteed to fumble in a game, your quarterback has to play a perfect game. And Russell Wilson, not been doing that. He's been turning the ball over. He's been making terrible decisions, bad throws. Nathaniel Hackett and the coaching has been terrible lately. It's just a mess in Denver. From a team that was considered, they're going to the Super Bowl, Russell Wilson saving the franchise. He's going to do what Peyton Manning did, to now being a bottom team in their division. It's terrible if you're a Bronco fan and you're watching your team. You're probably mad right now. I don't know. Let me know in the comments how you feel about your NFL team, especially the teams that are struggling right now. Let me know how you feel. Maybe you want to change it your position-wise. Maybe you need to change a coach. But what was interesting about this game is the loss of Javonte Williams and the Raiders finally getting a victory. Next up, let's talk about a debut that everyone in Pittsburgh was happy about, and that was Kenny Pickett return. Kenny Pickett debut, not return, but his debut, entered the game in the third quarter after Mitch Trubisky wasn't playing very well. Now, you could say Mitch Trubisky's first pick went through Deontay Johnson's hands, which it did. It went through Johnson's hands, which ultimately led to the interception. But the offense was terrible. They couldn't get anything going. Najee Harris, he's struggling with his injury. His Liz Frank injury is bothering him. You could tell he's coming out of the game now more than ever. Warren's coming in and playing good for the Steelers as a backup. But when you're a team like the Steelers, you can't be going down 10-0 to the Jets. Now, you're going down 10-0 to the Jets, and that's a problem. You just can't do that. It's a problem. And for their defense, they were stepping up, though. Highsmith was all over Zach Wilson. All over. All game. He got the sacks, got the pressures. He was all over him, which is good because he needs to step up in the absence of TJ Watt. But when the Jets fumble the ball and you're right there, you got to recover the ball. That was Pittsburgh's chance to really get going and really take control of the game. They couldn't. The Jets ended up getting the ball back, and it's terrible. Terrible showing for the Steelers in the first half. Second half, out-trouts Kenny Pickett, and you could hear the stadium erupt. I watched the video on Twitter, and I heard the stadium, threw it on Red Zone real quick because they were showing it. I could hear the stadium erupt. Kenny Pickett, the chants, they were chanting, Kenny, Kenny. And I could see why. I mean, you're a team who doesn't want Trubisky there. You draft this rookie in the first round, which you're not known to do. You don't do that. And no Big Ben, he's gone, so start a new team. And Trubisky's not going to be your franchise guy. It's going to be Kenny Pickett. And Kenny Pickett threw a couple of interceptions. And one of them wasn't his fault. He threw the ball, and what he was trying to do was get the ball to Pat Freiermuth at the end of the game. Now, he threw the ball up to Pat Freiermuth. He said in his press conference that he was trying to throw it high enough to where it was either Pat Freiermuth or no one. Pat Freiermuth went up, tipped the ball, and it didn't go out of bounds. It kind of just dropped, and the Jets were able to pick it off. And that's what happens. But Kenny Pickett rushed for a touchdown. He then rushed for a second touchdown. And he did throw another interception, but it was a deep ball to Chase Claypool, middle of the field. Kind of a deflated ball, how he threw the ball. And it just was picked off. Not good. It was deflected, then picked in a weird fashion. But if you're a Steeler fan, you're happy. Now, could you be nervous? Sure, I'm sure Steeler fans are nervous because he threw 2 interceptions, and that's not what you want to see from your quarterback. And at the end of the game, on a Hail Mary, he threw a third interception. So, 2 of them weren't his fault exactly. 1 could be, so you could argue that all you want. But the Jets went 9 minutes left, converted a 4th and 7. They scored a touchdown on that drive. If the Steelers hold them on that 4th and 7, they probably win the game. It's a 4th and 7 with 9 minutes, and you can't let them convert that. You even let them get 6 yards. It doesn't matter. Incompletion, whatever you have to do. Don't let him get those 7 yards. He gets 7 yards to Corey Davis on a beautiful ball right down the middle of the field. Beautiful catch right through the defender. And Trubisky out, Pickett in, Steelers lose. And after the game, Mike Tomlin was broad on benching Trubisky for Pickett, saying, and I quote, "I thought we needed a spark, man. We didn't do much in the first half, not enough offensively, and I thought he could provide a spark for us." Then he was asked about who the quarterback is, and he said, "We'll deal with next week. Then, on Monday afternoon, we got a report from Ian Rappaport that the Steelers are going to move forward with Kenny Pickett. So, what does that mean? Does it mean that they're going to talk about it within the organization like Tomlin said? Or was Tomlin just saying that in the heat of the moment? I don't know. I'm going to say Kenny Pickett's going forward. Let the rookie play. I'm excited if Pickett's the guy. I hope the Steelers fans are. I think for your team, if you're a Steeler fan, you want Kenny Pickett in. You want him to turn the season around. There's still a chance of your division. Your division's not as well as they used to be. And Lamar's struggling, as I talked about. Joe Burrow and the Bengals aren't what they were last season. And the Browns, they're struggling right now, but they're getting Deshaun Watson back. So that's going to be interesting to see. Then we had our Cardinal-Panther afternoon game, in which the Cardinals were able to beat the Panthers by 10. Baker Mayfield not playing well. The Cardinals not playing well, but got the job done. Kyler Murray's been struggling all year. He'll get DeAndre Hopkins back in 2 weeks, so that's good for him. He'll be able to get his guy back. But until then, it's going to be a struggle. They got the Eagles next week, and I don't see them winning that game. I don't think that with what they have right now, they're going to win. I am excited to see Zach Ertz because it's going to be Zach Ertz's first game against the Eagles after being traded. And I want to see how he interacts with the players before the game, with the players after the game, during the game maybe. I want to see how that plays out because Zach Ertz, his home was really in Philadelphia. And I do hope that he goes back to Philly to retire as an Eagle because he won a Super Bowl there. He got married there. He was with his wife, Julie Ertz, there. And for the sake of Zach Ertz, I hope he goes back to Philly to retire, even if it's a one-day contract like Shady McCoy did. But I hope he retires an Eagle. But for now, he's playing with the Cardinals. Just had a baby. He did a baby celebration after he scored. So I'm happy for Zach Ertz. Glad he's doing good in Arizona. Hoping that he goes back to Philly to retire, though. But in this game against the Panthers, the Arizona Cardinals, kind of a little interesting to watch because neither team played well. And after the game, there was a video of DJ Moore getting asked questions about him being open and about Baker Mayfield. And he sounded a bit annoyed because, DJ Moore was open on a few plays and Baker missed him, and it's not the first time. It's not going to be the last time. But when you ask him these questions, you could see his facial expression slowly starting to change. And DJ Moore needs to figure it out with Baker Mayfield. Because there was a question where DJ Moore got a little pissed off because the reporter said something about him being open and the connection being off. And DJ Moore was like, it was a pitch and catch play. That's all it is. At the end of the day, we're playing backyard football. It's a kid's game. And then they said something and he was like, oh no, that's Baker. And he got a little aggravated at the end. So could DJ Moore be on the move from Carolina? Possibly. But as I mentioned, the Carolina Panthers, I was high on Baker coming to Carolina. I thought with Robbie Anderson and DJ Moore and Christian McCaffrey, he was going to be able to play a lot better than he is, and that's just not the case. Disappointing for Baker Mayfield. Him and Sam Darnold will most likely be out after this year, along with Matt Rule, the head coach. I think those three getting fired, getting cut, whatever that may traded, whatever you want to do. I think Carolina needs to reset, get a new coach, have him get a new quarterback. You have an offense, you have a young defense, and they're just a coach and quarterback away. And I think this year in the draft, they're going to have a decent pick. I think you even try trading up maybe and have your new coach get his guy at quarterback because Matt Rule is not the answer. Neither's Baker, and definitely not Sam Darnold. Lastly, for our afternoon games, before we get into our last Sunday night game, which will wrap up this episode, that was the Green Bay Packers and the New England Patriots. And this game was very interesting to watch. The New England Patriots, Bailey Zappi was the guy. And he played rather well. And if you're the Patriots, and you're a Patriot fan, you're happy right now. Bailey Zappi sent this game into overtime against probably a top 3 quarterback in the league, Aaron Rodgers. I have him right behind Allen and Mahomes. And Aaron Rodgers is a future Hall of Famer, first ballot, no doubt. This Packer team is young. They're still figuring it out on offense. But this is a third-string quarterback, a rookie quarterback, a guy who no one saw playing because Mac Jones is there. But when Mac Jones gets hurt and Brian Hoyer gets hurt, and you throw this kid into the game, you would think he'd be so nervous and play so bad. He didn't. He played phenomenally. Now he didn't leave the game with the win. The Packers were able to do that in overtime on a field goal after a controversy ending of the game, which I'll talk about. But Bailey Zappi and the Patriots, they played well. They did what they needed to do on offense. And the defense played well. It was just a tight game. And when they needed to play, I don't know if it was Bill Belichick not trusting him or what it was. But at the end of the game, it just didn't happen for the Patriots. The Packers got the ball, and on a play to Romeo Doubs went up, got the ball, and fell. And when he came down in the end zone, the ball came loose. Now, he got 1 foot down, 2 foot down, elbow down. Then as his elbow went down, his forearm hit the ground, the ball popped out. Now, with the rules, it's a bit weird in that sense. Because normally, if you get 2 feet down, you have to make a football move. Now, if you're in the end zone, you can't make a football move because your 2 feet are down. Now, I believe that the rule is you have to maintain possession while hitting the ground. And he didn't do that. But I think that you got 2 feet down, knee down, elbow down, then ball pop out. I think that was a touchdown. Now, you could let me know in the comments what you think. But I think that it was a touchdown from Romeo Doubs, which would have given the Packers the victory in the fourth quarter regardless. It wouldn't have got sent to overtime. But at the end of the day, they ruled it incomplete. They had to go to overtime, and they ended up winning in overtime. Aaron Rodgers is going to figure it out with this offense, and I see now more than ever, Romeo Doubs is going to be his number one guy. He threw to Romeo Doubs a couple of times in the game. He needed him on a touchdown, got it to him, trusted him on single coverage. Now, I said on this play while I looked at it, they had the running back behind Rodgers. They had Lazard on the other side with Cobb. And the safety was dripped down to the left side of the field. And I saw Romeo Doubs in single coverage. And I said, they're going to Romeo Doubs here. I said, solo coverage, go to Romeo. They're going to go to Romeo Doubs here. I think Rodgers is going to trust this guy. And what happened? Threw to Romeo Doubs, back shoulder, made the adjustment, caught the ball, got into the end zone for a touchdown. Rodgers is building trust with Romeo Doubs. And even though that touchdown didn't go their way, he still threw the ball to him after that. He threw it on a screen. He threw it on another screen at the end of the game just to drain out the clock. And I believe strongly that by the end of the year, Romeo Doubs is going to be a solidified number one guy on the Packers team. And Aaron Rodgers will then have trust in not only Lazard and Cobb, but Romeo Doubs, and Christian Watson will slowly fade away in that offense. We see it now. Christian Watson, they kind of just hand the ball off to him just to get a little spark. He broke free for a touchdown, so he ran in a touchdown. He was able to do his first Lambeau leap. Romeo Doubs on his touchdown did his first Lambeau leap. But I think by the end of the year, give me Aaron, give me Romeo Doubs. I think that's going to be a special connection these upcoming years, especially with Doubs being a rookie. I think however long Rodgers stays in place, Romeo Doubs is going to be a great receiver. And finally, our last game, considering we started this episode with the Monday night game, where I said that the Rams played terribly. 13-play drive, 16-play drive, 19-play drive, field goal, fumble, and then a pick six. Terrible for the Rams. Niners got the victory. And Tufanga, pick six, breakout guy this year. But let's talk about our last game, and that was our Sunday night game. A Super Bowl matchup, Super Bowl rematch between the Chiefs and the Bucs. And this game wasn't close. The Chiefs started off hot. They started off strong. And Tampa Bay fumbles the opening kickoff. Rachaad White, the rookie running back, fumbles the opening kickoff. Chiefs get it. Boom, boom. 2 plays later, Kelsey's in the end zone, dancing, scoring. 7-0 Chiefs. Chiefs go score again. The Chiefs went up 10 points. The Chiefs were up 18 points. The Chiefs were up 21 points. And the Chiefs were just rolling. They weren't slowing down. And in a game where Mahomes wanted this victory after hearing for the past 2 years, oh, the Bucs defense got to Mahomes. Mahomes didn't have time. Mahomes this, Mahomes that. Mahomes was hurt. Mahomes had no O-line. Change it. Mahomes is healthy. Mahomes doesn't have Hill. Mahomes has a revamped O-line, and he demolishes the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. For a team that was considered to have the best defense, Devin White was talking all year about them going to have 50 turnovers. It was 30 turnovers. I think it was 30. After the game against the Saints with Winston, he said that they're going to have 30 turnovers as a team. Come on. Chill out. And Devin White tried to wrap up Mahomes. Mahomes spun out, did a little shovel pitch into the end zone for a touchdown. Magic. Then on a few plays later, Mahomes was pointing to this way with Travis Kelce, and then Noah Gray came out, snapped the ball, sneak right into the end zone for a touchdown. Mahomes all the way back here pointing to the sideline to Kelce, and I don't know what the Bucs are doing. Noah Gray came in, snapped the ball, and just ran it in. What are you doing right now, Tampa? You're supposed to have one of the best defenses? Terrible. Kansas City got the win. Mahomes played great. Brady played good, but not good enough. The team didn't play well. Chris Godwin got re-injured. He was back in the game, though. Mike Evans was back in the game. Russell Gage was in the game. Leonard Fournette was in the game. The Bucs just couldn't hang on with the Chiefs, especially after fumbling the first kickoff. Chiefs went up 7-0. They also got the ball after half, so they basically started with the ball to start the game and in the second half. And when that happens, especially with an offense like the Chiefs, they're going to get it done, they're going to win the game, and that's exactly what they did. Now that's going to be it for this video. If you enjoy my video, drop a like. If you enjoy my content, you enjoy all my videos, you guys already know. I will see you guys next time.